House Committee on Education will come to order. Clerk may take the roll. Clerk can close the roll.
It's okay.
She grabbed it. We're good. First, good morning, everyone. We've got a lot to roll through. So first, we need administrative action to roll House Bill 1613 into 1694. It's a voice vote. All those in favor? First, if I could have that motion.
So moved.
It's been properly made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Delegate Lavier Bowling.
I'd also like to make a motion to, for HB 2419 to pass it by for the day.
Okay, so House Bill 2419 in the uncontested block by Delegate Weber is simply being passed by for the day. That is the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is passed by for the day. Next, we'll move to our uncontested block from the Higher Education Subcommittee. Chair Sewell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First up, we have House Bill 1595. This piece of legislation makes several changes to the Virginia National Guard State Tuition Assistance Program in an effort to further recruit students. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations on a vote of 10-0. Next up, we have House Bill 1694, patroned by Delegate Askew. This is the Virginia Military Survivors Independence Education Program, requiring an annual report on eligibility and usage required. This piece of legislation incorporates that of House Bill 1613, which only had a change of the date for which this report was due. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to appropriations on a vote of 10-0. Next up, we have House Bill 1878, patroned by Delegate Sewell. And this is a change in the title from director to executive director to help with streamlining the organizational structure of the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, while also furthering their ability to engage with partners, organizations. Next, we have House Bill 1930 from Delegate Ward. This alters the annual meeting structure as well as the membership timeline and voting responsibilities for Christopher Newport University's Board of Visitors. House Bill 2045 from, okay, yes, I'm correct, sorry. House Bill 2045 from Delegate Walker is a information sharing bill in an effort to increase transparency. The information provided by our universities will now be shared in a more user-friendly format on the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia website. This passed the subcommittee on a vote of 10-0, and the subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations. The last three bills are from Delegate Carr. First up, we have House Bill 2156. This piece of legislation requires public institutions of higher education this updates the language and provides clarifying language regarding the tuition and mandatory fees waived for a student from a foreign country enrolled in a public institution of higher education through a formalized student exchange program, and to ensure all necessary fees or waives and compensation is provided as necessary. This passed the subcommittee. We recommend reporting with substitute on a vote of 10-0. House Bill 2157 deals with the governance structure of Richard Bland College. It removes the authority of the Board of Visitors for the College of William & Mary to supervise, manage, and control Richard Bland College, and establishes their own Board of Visitors to include 9 individuals. And lastly, we have House Bill 2161, which makes several changes relating to the Board of Directors and the CEO for Virginia Commonwealth University's health system to include reducing the number of appointed members of the board, adding the CEO as a member of the authority, and additional privileges for the president of Virginia Commonwealth University, and removing them as a voting member, among other items which are enumerated in the bill. And both House Bill 2157 and House Bill 2161 were reported from the subcommittee on a vote of 10-0.
Thank you, Chair Sewell. Do I have a motion to adopt the amendments and substitutes in the uncontested block?
So moved.
The motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the amendments and substitutes in the uncontested block. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendments and substitutes are adopted. We have a motion on the floor to move the uncontested block. Do we have a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the uncontested block. The clerk may open the roll. Clerk can close the roll. Block is adopted 17-0. Next to the contested block, Chair Sewell, and I believe that 1621 has a line amendment. I'll ask if we can, are you prepared to report that? If we could have council report the line amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The line amendment is posted on LIS. It's a clarifying line amendment on line 49 of the substitute that the subcommittee adopted. After the word "be," it would be to unstrike the language "chosen from individuals."
Questions on adoption of the technical line amendment as proposed here? Do I have a motion on the line amendment?
Move the line amendment.
It's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed. 1621 has been amended. Now back to Chair Sewell to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First up, we have House Bill 1621 from our patron, who is Delegate Lawfer. This piece of legislation requires the State Board of Community Colleges, the Board of Visitors of each baccalaureate public institution of higher education, and each local community college board to appoint a non-voting advisory faculty representative to its respective board. And under current law, such a position is permissive. So this is a change to make that a requirement. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute on a vote of 6-4, and now you have the amendment before us as well.
The motion's been made and properly seconded to report 1621 with amendment. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports with amendment 10-5. Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1805, patroned by Delegate Cohen, requires any individualized education program meeting for any student with a disability held with a purpose of post-secondary transition, planning and consideration of post-secondary transition services to include, consistent with the guidance developed by the Department of Education pursuant to applicable law, consideration and documentation of any information relating to such students' post-secondary transition, planning and services needed that may be necessary or relevant to coordinating and facilitating the successful and efficient transition of such student from secondary school to an institution of higher education. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations on a vote of 7-3, and I so move.
Motion is made and properly seconded to report and refer House Bill 1805 to appropriations. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk can close the roll. Bill reports 13-3. Delegate Sewell.
Lastly, Mr. Chair, we have House Bill 1995 from Delegate Bennett Parker. This exempts from the provisions of law that permit SCHEV to regulate certain private and out-of-state institutions of higher education, included by certifying such institutions to operate in the Commonwealth of Virginia non-credit courses of instruction intended solely to prepare students for certification as project management professionals, provided that no such exempted course of instruction exceeds the number of hours required by the certifying body. This is a employer retention model that Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker brought forward. The subcommittee recommends reporting 9-1, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 1995. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk can close the roll. Bill reports 16-0. Thank you, Chair Sewell. Chair Simons.
Mr. Chair, I have the uncontested calendar from the K-12 subcommittee. I'll start with HB 1626 by Delegate Thomas. This prohibits any public elementary or secondary school teacher from being required to participate in any non-academic training activity. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute by a vote of 8-0. HB 1924 by Chair Ward narrows the prohibition for school boards against hiring or contracting for the services of any individual who has been convicted of a felony crime of violence to any offense involving a child. Subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute 8-0. HB 1947 by Delegate Siebold requires the Department of Education to survey each local education agency for improvement of guidelines for school professionals to support students and families. The bill requires the department to report to the Commission on Youth by November 1st, 2025. This subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. HB 1993 by Delegate Bennett Parker permits any local school board to display advertising about hiring of school bus drivers in the local school division. The subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. HB 2013 by Delegate Lawfer provides that if a pupil or his parent participates in the address confidentiality program, a post office box number shall be required in lieu of the otherwise required street address for the pupil's residence. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute 8-0. HB 2018 by Delegate Anthony requires the Board of Education to establish additional pathways to renewable licensure as a teacher with an endorsement in the area of career and technical education. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute 8-0. HB 2051 by Delegate Green allows for annual meetings by the School Safety Audit Committee on school grounds with local law enforcement. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute 8-0. HB 2104 by Delegate Bennett Parker. The bill permits any local school board to adopt and implement policies permitting any student who has a diagnosis of a condition causing acute repetitive seizures to possess intranasal seizure rescue medications during the school day if the student's parent has submitted a seizure management and action plan that includes written consent of the parent. Subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute 8-0. HB 2213 by Delegate McQuinn strongly encourages each school board to offer part of its program of driver education behind-the-wheel training, either during school hours or before or after school hours, including on weekends. Subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. HB 2219 by Delegate Tran. The bill requires each school division to provide each employee or contractor who provides instruction or direct support to a student with a disability who needs or uses an augmentative and alternative communication device, or ACC, training in an assisted technology to support the student's use. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendments 8-0. HB 2265 by Delegate Tran provides that any individual who has been employed as a preschool special education teacher licensed with an endorsement in K-12 special education for at least 15 school years shall be deemed licensed as a teacher with an endorsement in special education early childhood upon the recommendation of the division superintendent. Subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. HB 2341 by Delegate Shin requires no later than October 1st, 2025, the Department of Education to develop, adopt, and provide to each local school board guidance on the adoption of policies governing the provision of culturally responsive and language-appropriate mental health support and services for students. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendments, 8-0. HB 2360 by Delegate Wilt requires the Board of Education to include on its list of industry workforce credentials its diploma seal of biliteracy, to consider such seal to satisfy graduation requirements and determining calculating high school student readiness in its school accountability system. The subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. HB 2364 by Delegate Wilt establishes the Advanced Emergency Training First Aid Equipment Grant Fund and Program for the purpose of awarding grants from the fund on a competitive merit basis to school divisions. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to appropriations 8-0. HB 2471 by Chair Rasool requires the Department of Education to provide a statewide platform for Medicaid billing for reimbursable services rendered at any school site, and any school board may utilize at no cost to facilitate, track, and coordinate such billing. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations 8-0. HB 2507 by Delegate Runyon permits the Board of Visitors of the Virginia School for the Deaf and the Blind to establish a campus police department. Subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations 8-0. HB 2543 by Delegate Laufer provides that the Model Memorandum of Understanding developed by the Department of Education for partnerships with community mental health service providers shall include procedures allowing for students to receive counseling by way of telehealth. This bill is a recommendation of the Joint Subcommittee to Study Pandemic Response and Preparedness in the Commonwealth. The subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0. For all these bills, I so move.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we'll turn to Delegate Patton.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, may I request 3 bills be removed from the block?
Which ones?
House Bill 1924, House Bill 2013,
2013,
and House Bill 2341.
2341. Those will be removed from the block, and we'll be taking individual votes on those 3 bills. The motion that we'd like to hear first is to adopt the amendments and substitutes.
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the amendments and substitutes on the uncontested block. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries. The amendments and substitutes are adopted on block. Now, the motion has already been made to report as amended and substituted the bills in the uncontested block except for 1924, 2013, and 2341. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bills report 18-0. Question is on adoption of House Bill 1924. The motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been properly seconded. Members may please cast their vote on House Bill 1924. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 15-2. Next is on question of adoption of House Bill 2013. Motion's been made. Do we have a second? And properly seconded to report House Bill 2013. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 15-1. And finally, in this block, we have House Bill 2341 by Delegate Shin. The motion's been made to report. Do we have a second? It's been seconded. Members may please cast their vote on House Bill 2341. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 15-3. And for the record, just so we're clear, House Bill 1626, which reported unanimously, no longer had to go to approps with the amendments that you all adopted. Took out the fiscal part of that. And now we move to the contested block. And I believe that 1936, which was pulled, so 1936 reported unanimously, but was pulled from the uncontested block for the purpose of a line amendment. And we'll first turn to the patron, Delegate Reeser, to offer her line amendment, or if she'd like council to report that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I move the line amendment.
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the line amendment. Council, if you'll please report the line amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is posted on LIS, and it's on line 19 of the substitute that the subcommittee adopted after the words pursuant to. Strike the remainder of that line and through Romanet 3 on line 20 and insert state or. So it would read state or federal law or regulation.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to speak to that?
Please.
Thank you. So in consultation with appropriations and with the attorney, I became aware of the fact that because of the fact that individual school board policies are not otherwise trackable or tracked outside of each individual school division, that was unduly cumbersome. And originally, the bill did not have that language. It had been an amendment that I added because I thought it would make it more complete, and the stakeholders agreed that having the bigger picture would be sufficient.
Thank you very much. So that then removes the fiscal impact. All those in favor of the amendment to House Bill 1936 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendment carries. Now we'll turn to Chair Simons on House Bill 1936.
House Bill 1936 by Delegate Reeser requires the Department of Education to establish and maintain an index of training in which any public elementary and secondary school teacher in the Commonwealth is required to participate. The subcommittee recommended reporting with substitute, and I move reporting with substitute and amendments. I so move.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 1936, which we had reported uncontested. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk can close the roll. Bill reports 19-0. Chair Simons.
HB 1958 by Delegate Bennett Parker requires each school board to participate in the federal school breakfast program administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and to make breakfast available to any student who requests such meal at no cost to the student. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations on a vote of 7-1, and I so move.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 1958 and referring to appropriations. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 14-5. Delegate Simons.
HB 1988 by Delegate Askew permits any school board to enter into written agreement to submit any existing controversy to binding arbitration and to execute a contract, including a collective bargaining agreement that contains a provision to submit to binding arbitration any controversy arising thereafter. The subcommittee recommends reporting 5-3, and I so move.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded to report House Bill 1988. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 12-7. Delegate Simons.
HB 2278 by Delegate Price requires each school board or division superintendent, in consultation with the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities and other such stakeholders as it deems appropriate, to review accessibility challenges in the local school division. The bill requires each school board or superintendent to report the findings of such review and any associated recommendations to the General Assembly no later than November 1st, 2025. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendments, and I so move.
Motion made and properly seconded to report House Bill 2278 with amendments. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk can close the roll. Bill reports 13-6. Delegate Simons.
HB 2381 from Delegate Maldonado renames the National Teacher Certification Incentive Reward Program and Fund as the National Board Certification Incentive Reward Program and Fund, expands eligibility for incentive grant awards from such fund. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations on a vote of 7-1, and I so move.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 2381 and to refer to appropriations. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill report 16-1. Chair Simons.
HB 2454 by Chair Rasool directs the Board of Education to revise its 3E readiness framework, employment, enlistment, and enrollment adopted pursuant to the Public School Accountability System to measure high school student post-secondary readiness, to include an indicator of post-secondary readiness and incentivize participation in and completion of work-based learning experiences. The subcommittee recommends reporting 6-2, and I so move.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 2454. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk may close the roll. Bill reports 12-7. Chair Simons.
HB 2590 by Delegate Cole seeks to increase access for Virginia students to the Student Training Employment Pipeline for the U.S. Procurement Step Up Grant Program by establishing a fund and program. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to appropriations on a vote of 7-1, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to report and refer to appropriations House Bill 2590. Members may please cast their vote. Clerk, close the roll. Bill reports 14-5. I believe that concludes.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my reports.
Okay. So immediately after this, we will gavel in. Right after this is early childhood. And as a reminder to the committee, we have, this is one of the busiest committees, if not the busiest committee actually these days, for better or for worse, in the General Assembly. So we still have a lot of bills left to go through, and it'll be a busy week next week. On to Chair Simons.
I move to adjourn the full Education Committee.
Motion made and properly seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All
Aye.
those opposed, we stand adjourned.